China is an incredibly important trading partner to Queensland. Most of our trade goes to China. What I'm really concerned about is a trade war to erupt.
Beijing has suspended imports from 4 Aussie abattoirs, 3 in Queensland and 1 in New South Wales, citing labelling issues. Those meatworks account for roughly 35% of Australian beef exports.
Now, the decisions themselves concern us, and that's why we're working round the clock as a government.
We don't need another beef with China over this issue.
The stoush has been brewing for weeks after the PM called for an investigation into China's early handling of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Well, I think such an inquiry is important, and we can respectfully have a difference of view from that's been put by China.
Beijing saw red with the ambassador foreshadowing a boycott.
Maybe the ordinary people will say, why should we drink Australian wine, eat Australian beef?
We need to hold true to our values, and I don't think we're helped when we appear to be playing deputy sheriff to the United States.
China's also signalled an 80% tariff on Aussie barley. 2/3 of Australia's agricultural produce is exported and 28% to China alone. So it's a critical relationship.
Obviously, it's an exceptionally large market for us. It's the largest market for agriculture that's only just got there. So we're really hoping that it's not going to take very long at all for us to then get these temporary suspensions lifted.
These trade tiffs won't only hurt our meat industry, winemakers are also worried.
The Chinese market is the biggest market for Australian wine. It's about $1.1 billion a year. It would have a very big impact. You've got to remember we're an industry that's been suffering from both bushfires, followed on by COVID-19.
Our relationship with China has always been complicated, but as we look to our post-pandemic recovery, is it a trade partner Australia can afford to lose?
Well, Trade Minister Simon Birmingham joins us now. Welcome, Minister. Isn't this the worst possible time to be provoking China?
Well, Australia's a country that always has to stand by our values and make sure that we're acting in ways that are in our national interest. Now, we're not seeking to provoke anyone. The actions the government's taken over recent weeks have simply been to say that the globe deserves an investigation into COVID-19. And that's a pretty logical argument to say when millions of people have lost their jobs, hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives right around the world, that we should all want to learn lessons from this and make sure that we don't see a repeat of it. But that's a completely unrelated factor to matters of trade or matters of economics. And what we just want to see there is that each of us deals with these issues on their merits. That's the approach the Australian government takes, and it's the approach we urge all countries to take.
Sorry, Minister, you say it's unrelated. Are you saying it's just a coincidence that we've been pushing for this inquiry and now China has responded in this way? These are just completely unrelated events.
No. I'm saying Australia sees no relationship between trade policy enforcement or trade policy matters and an investigation into COVID-19.
Okay,
and we certainly
right.
don't conflate the matters. We don't see them as being related.
Sure, I understand. China apparently does, at least it seems that way from this distance. Do you think in hindsight it might have been better for Australia to work with other nations around the world behind the scenes and maybe get a country that wasn't taking all the risk of some kind of retaliation from China to be pushing an inquiry like this?
Well, we are working with countries around the world, and in fact the resolution to establish an inquiry will be moved at the World Health Assembly by the European Union with Australian support and with the support of many other countries. So this is something that we've been working on with many partners.
I appreciate that, but we've been out the front on it. We kind of spoke out to the world, say, hey, this would be a good idea. What we could have done is use those contacts, for example, in the European Union, and they could have been leading the charge rather than us taking the heat.
As I say, the European Union are leading the charge in terms of the role that they're playing. Now, Australia should be able to have a policy position and to stand by our values and stand by the national interest of Australians, whether it's on national security issues or public health issues, without fear of economic coercion in any way. And certainly we will respond thoughtfully, respectfully to China on the issues they've raised around beef and barley. They have publicly and privately said that these are technical matters that have been in the making for 12 to 18 months in terms of investigations and compliance issues. And so we'll respond to them in good faith, addressing those compliance issues, addressing the economic arguments, and I hope that they will make their decisions based on the evidence as it relates to those issues.
If it is a response to a call for an inquiry at a time when we're in the middle of something that's unprecedented in most of our lifetimes, do you think that China's being a little overly sensitive to that?
I would hope that every nation, including China, would want to work to prevent a repeat of COVID-19 in the future, or if we do see such an outbreak occur again, to know that we're better placed to handle it in the future. And so nobody should have anything to fear, and everybody should have something to gain from learning the lessons out of this pandemic and being better prepared for the future.
Have you been able to secure a meeting with your Chinese counterpart yet?
I haven't got a call scheduled at this stage. I would like to have a discussion with my Chinese counterpart about these issues, but that's not going to stop us from putting every single effort we can through technical means, through administrative means, and through diplomatic channels to make sure that we argue a strong case. Australian barley producers don't dump product around the world at below market cost. They're just actually really great, productive, effective farmers. Australia's beef industry produces high quality, reliable product. If there are labelling irregularities, we'll make sure they're addressed, and we want to make sure these industries can just get on doing what they're good at, which is helping to feed the world, which Australia does so effectively.
Are they giving us the cold shoulder? Is that why there's no meeting lined up yet? Bit of silent treatment?
Well, that's a question for them. What I'll do is make sure that every channel that's available to me as Trade Minister, I deploy. And that means using our embassies, that means using our officials, and that means, yes, reaching out at a minister-to-minister level, but if we take China at face value, they say that these matters will be resolved at an administrative level, and so we'll make sure that we put in the most powerful case, backing Australia's barley industry, backing Australia's beef producers, outlining why it is that China can have confidence that they will receive high-quality product that meets all regulatory requirements and is priced according to market principles.
Minister, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys.